So 2021 was a pretty crazy year, all the way from making $10 million to having a lot of personal turbulence in my life, to having a bunch of highs, having a bunch of lows, forgetting a very big thing, moving country, relocating after 17 years of being in the UK. There's a lot of stuff happened. And I did one of these last year, although I think I was like 6 weeks late or like 5 weeks late when I actually recorded my life lessons. But I did one technically earlier in the year, 11 months ago or something like that, about 2020. And I thought I would do one here in 2021. So these are the 7 life lessons I learned in 2021. Now it is actually currently Christmas. So I decided to put the green and red lights, Christmas spirit. This year, being in Dubai and whatnot, not really celebrating, although a very sweet and gracious girl did give me a real life Christmas tree here in Dubai, which was a very, very sweet gesture. But anyways, the point is, this year I'm not celebrating Christmas. And yeah, just kind of been doing a lot of reflecting today, a lot of meditating, and yeah, just kind of a little bit of unwinding down before the last few days of work with the team. And then it's New Year's, my birthday, and my birthday is 3rd of January. I'm a Capricorn. I would assume that's what most people would assume based on how stubborn I am about certain topics and how outspoken I am about certain things. So as I said, my birthday is 3rd of January every year. So from the 31st until the 7th of Jan every year, usually I'm kind of MIA and just partying and enjoying New Year's and my birthday and et cetera. So as I said, it's actually Christmas Day. So I thought I would shoot this today. I got my candle lit. I have some water, some very cold water, I guess you could say. Being Russian, this is actually my drink of choice. Some people really don't understand how I can just drink vodka on the rocks, but yeah, Russian blood, it's actually usually my go-to drink. So anyways, having a couple sips of this, and we'll break down what was a pretty crazy year. And as always, down below you will find the giveaway winner for last video's Gadzhi giveaway. If you want to win a pair of free Gadzhi glasses, all you got to do, very simple, like the video and leave a comment, and then just come and check back next video and check the pinned comments. The winner will be announced there, and you can do that as many times as you want. I know people who literally did that every single video I posted in 2020 for like 9 months, and then eventually ended up winning a pair of these. So yeah, keep it going. So the first lesson I learned in 2021 is environment is everything. I don't know, obviously this year was a weird one. I spent the first 2 months in Cape Town, which is kind of like just personally my favorite place on earth, or my favorite place on earth for that state of mind when I get in the state of mind of monk mode. And that was great. The first 7 days of the year I kind of partied, and then I went into strict monk mode, no alcohol, no caffeine, which one I was kind of changing my protocol slightly. So that one was no alcohol, no caffeine, no sugar, so strict carnivore diet. And then I think that was pretty much it. And then I came back for a week, and then I did that same protocol, but I did an hour a day of meditation and pray one time, once a day as well. So, and that was like hard stipulated in there. So yeah, I was in Cape Town for the first 2 months a year. Came back to London. I was in London while I was actually in lockdown. Actually, no, I came back to London. I was in London for like a month, and then I ended up going to Maldives with my ex-girlfriend, then to Turkey. Came back, was here for like 2 months. Came to Dubai for like 3 weeks for all the paperwork and stuff like that. And then in the summer, I actually didn't leave London too much because I had so much work to do before I moved out of my place and left London eventually. But then I kind of spent the second half of the year, sort of from, well, not second half, but like, from September onwards in Dubai, in my new place, in this place that I'm recording this right now. So September I was here, October, November I spent a bit of time in London and Madrid, and then December I spent a little bit of time away. But for the most part, kind of here for 4 months-ish. And I'm already starting to see the differences between London, between Cape Town, and I've had lots of experience in the past with places like Bali, places like Dubai, and places like Marbella, like just all these different places on earth, and spending sort of extended periods of time there, and just seeing what that does to me mentally and environmentally. And I spent a lot of time in America as well in 2018, 2019, LA, which I hated even back then, and I'm sure you've seen what's happened to it since. New York, never spent any time in Miami. Actually, I've still never been, want to go. But my point is, if you want to live in accordance to an ideal, change your environment, right? And that's, I think, the knife behind the devil's back that people get when they move to Dubai. Luckily, I was very well aware of this moving here, and I feel as though I have a good head on my shoulders. But Dubai really is the land of temptation of everything, right? And I've seen a lot of people, just kind of like LA, just get lost here. And as I said, luckily I've kept a good head on my shoulders, and as I said, I was aware of that coming into here, and also, living a pretty sort of, as I said, I guess my entire life is really just like a double life. It's like 70% of the year I am monk mode, head down, focus, like literally a grandpa. 30% I live the most insane life. Like, it's, yeah, I guess we'll get onto that in one of the other life lessons. But luckily I kind of went into Dubai with that correct mindset, and with the sort of correct head on my shoulders. But it's for that reason, even spending a little bit of time in Dubai here, like, you start to care about things that, for example, when I'm in Cape Town, I don't care about. And it's not necessarily that I don't care about them at all, but it's just like you care about it a little bit more here, right? And I think, one of the interesting things, and I guess maybe there is merit to this when you're first starting off and you're first trying to aspire and climb higher in your life, when it comes to wealth, when it comes to career, etc., etc. I understand being in a environment like New York, London, LA, Dubai, whatever you name it, right? Like sort of more affluent areas. I get it, because you see the nice cars and you see the apartments and the houses and blah blah, all this stuff, and you aspire for more. But I think that stops at a certain point. And for me, like, I don't like being in these flashy places, because it's just like, it's as strong-willed as you are, you get sucked into the environment you're in, right? And it can be small things, right? Like, for example, like if I'm in Cape Town, like, I don't feel a need to like shop for clothes, right? Like, for me personally, I really, really like clothes, right? Like, I like fashion. I see my entire fashion as how much money can I spend, so people who don't know me, are randoms to me, don't know how much money I have, right? So, for me, it's not like a flashy thing or anything like that. As I said, I genuinely like getting cool pieces, putting outfits together, taking them to my tailor, getting them tucked in and put in the way that I want. To make that point, I even have my own fashion line, and we make our own products and this and that, products that I wear, right? Products that kind of fit in accordance to my style, simple, basic, etc., etc. Anyways, when I'm in a place like Cape Town or Bali, it's certain things that matter to you in London or Dubai, they just really don't appeal to you in these places. And I think if you are at a point where you're really solid in your business, the best thing I think you can do is actually go to places where there's really high quality of life, but there's actually not that much wealth, or on paper wealth. Like, for example, when I go to Cape Town, and I actually, I guess maybe now might be an interesting point to tell you. I mean, I'm literally just signing the lease tomorrow, so who knows, anything could happen, something could fall through, but I'm actually about to sign a lease tomorrow, a 1-year lease. I'm gonna have a 5-bedroom place in Cape Town, so I'm gonna have 2 homes, one in Cape Town, one in Dubai. When I go to Cape Town, like, the 5-bedroom villa I'm in is like ultra luxury, way more luxury than this, yet it's half the price. So the point is, I think still go somewhere where it feels luxury, right? Or it still feels, you have a great sense and a great sensation, a great feeling there, right? And that's, for example, maybe sometimes the issue with Bali is it doesn't really feel that luxury a lot of times. So you still have that sort of luxury feeling, but you don't have a ton of this outside external wealth sort of drawing you in and stuff like that. So, for example, maybe this is better for people who are in, maybe later phases of their life. But for example, in the UK, like, if I still lived in the UK, or when I eventually return, I'm sure I'll have a place in the Cotswolds, right? Quieter life mostly year round, and then just also have a place in London, so that way, when I want to get out the scene, I can go and stay in the Cotswolds, and then when I want to kind of be more social in this and that, I can be in London. And that's even in Dubai. Even just being here 4 months, I'm like, man, it's just like a lot of stimulus and stuff like that, and I'm already thinking like maybe I want to get a villa like 45 minutes out and just live a sort of quieter life here, because it's much easier for me to do monk mode in Cape Town, right, than it is in Dubai, a place where I already have a decent amount of friends, and then literally every single week, like, Dubai is like, for me, I don't think there's a city on earth where I know more people transit through or come through per year, right? Like, every single one of my friends, everyone I know is in Dubai at least once a year, just for some reason, right? So for me, environment is everything. Once you get to a certain point in your career, in your life, if you have the location freedom, and I think this is why it's so important to have a business and a career where you have time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom. To me, I don't want a life where I want to have financial freedom, but I have no location freedom or time freedom. So if you are location independent, I think the best thing you can do is, as I said, just go to a place where you still feel happy there, you feel good there, but there's actually not as much wealth, which is, as I said, counterintuitive. Most people think that, like, for example, in my case, like the next benchmark is 25 million after tax invested, right? So you think, oh, why would you not be in Dubai, and why would Dubai not be the perfect place for you to have that mindset of like more hustle and this? And for me, it's like I don't need any of that anymore. I just need like peace and quiet and time to really like focus on the projects that I want, and to get away from the hecticness and the scene and like all this materialistic shit and all that stuff. So yeah, if I were you guys, look at places like Medellin, look at places like Cape Town, I said, that are like, you still have, for me, it still feels an air of luxury, especially like just how beautiful the architecture is in some of those places, and the properties you can get, but it's not overly like brash and materialistic and this and that. So environment really is everything. To me, that's lesson number 1. Life lesson number 2 I learned in 2021 is a life lesson that I've already learned many times over, but you need to keep learning these lessons, and you need to keep being reminded of these lessons. And that lesson is that hedonism does not equal happiness. This is just such a long conversation. The truest truth in life is that money doesn't make you happy. But people who have no money aren't allowed to say that. Like, like when I had no money, I literally knew that, but I was like, but you don't know until you experience it. And even when you experience it, it still creeps back up on you, right? And it's a process that you need to go through, and it's a process that probably I'll keep going through a few more times. And for me, it's never really been so much about like, oh, more money. For me, like, for example, I'd say it was like security or like investment portfolio. Like, for example, like if you told me 3 years ago that I would have 10 million after tax invested, a little smidge over that now actually. So now with 10 million a year invested after tax, like I make absolutely low end 500K all the way to, especially with some of the yield farming, some of the better protocols out there, or just some of the higher risk investments, 15%, right? Very easily, like 15%. So anywhere from 5 to 15% a year. So off whatever, let's just to make it easy, let's say 10 million, 500K to 1.5 million a year for the rest of my life, right? Unless something goes catastrophically wrong, but for the most part, for the rest of my life. And I live in Dubai, so I pay 0 tax. So if you told me that 4 years ago, I'd be like, all right, cool. At that point, retire for your 20s, go live your life. And then it's funny because now when I had $1 million after tax, like to my name or like in cash, at that point I didn't invest it. But point is, when I had $1 million compared to now that I have 10 million after tax and invested, actually making me money, I feel the same amount of safety and security, right? Like I'm still like, it's not enough. Like, in my mind, I'm like, once I get 50 million, right? I think that's when I'll feel like safe and secure. And probably once I get to 50 million, I'll be like, I think probably 200 would do it for me, right? So it's always a game, and it's always just like a lesson you need to learn. And kind of more back on the hedonism part, I don't know this, and for me, nothing is I like to live a very expanded, broad aspect of life. And I think that's probably a thing that fascinates people with me when it comes to entrepreneurship space, is like, let me be honest with you, if you want to learn strictly business advice and this and that, there are 101 different people that can teach you it. But I think what's very fascinating for most people is they're watching someone who's navigating through making a lot of money in their younger years, but just being very honest, like makes a lot of money and has a lot of the other stuff that most people want or think that money would get them, like insane social life. I don't know how to say this stuff without being like going across a certain way, but being crass, but like more high quality women than I could ever in a million years know what to do with. The sort of women that are getting chased by celebrities and billionaires and are pawning them off, waiting 3 months, praying that I'll come through their city, or like go back to London, or that I'll fly through London or Madrid or this city or that city, or maybe the next time they're in Dubai we can meet up. And so instead, if you want strictly business advice, I feel for the most part I could still probably give you pretty decent ones because I built pretty substantial businesses, especially for my age, and definitely when it comes to investment side of things. But I think the thing that's very fascinating for people is they're watching someone who, like, I live, like, it's very funny to me as well. Even I have very good relationships with all these watch brands, and the things that like rappers rap about, like I actually live. And then I know from these representatives of these watch brands, from Richard Mille, Patek Philippe, Rolex, Audemars Piguet, I'm friends with all these brands, not just like client, like actual like friends with all these brands. And it's funny when they'll tell me about like a specific rapper and they're like, yeah, he doesn't actually own that piece, or like he would never get allocated that piece. And it said, like, sometimes for me, like I have to stop and be like, what the fuck is going on? Because the stuff that rappers rap about, like I actually live, and it's quite insane, but it's not fulfilling, right? And it's fun to go through, and you know, the first 6 months of the year was it kind of this year kind of encapsulated what my life is usually like, which is, you know, 50. I mean, this year was a little bit more partying than I would have wanted, but usually any given year it'll be like 60 to 75% of the year is just me, monk mode, grandpa. You know, I got these bad boys on at 9 p.m. I'm in bed by 10 p.m. Up at 6:30. My personal trainer's at my house, and we go train. And yeah, that's basically what the first 7 months of this year were, from Jan to July, or yeah, Jan to July, was just monk mode, right? And then, you know, I got out of a relationship, and I'm sure, you know, most people know what that feeling's like when you get out of a relationship and you're like, you know what, let me spread my wings and have a little bit, you know, have some experiences that you can't necessarily have when you're single. And yeah, I don't know. I like, one of these days I will write a book or something about just like the fucking crazy shit that I experienced in my life, and the money, the women, the fucking parties that, I mean, like, you guys, I think you guys see some of the stuff on my Instagram, like that's like the PG, and I think, like, you know, I don't post anything super, you know, you don't look at my Instagram and you know, I don't think it's anything that's super crass. It feels like I'm very subtle with everything, but like the stuff you guys see on my Instagram, I think you guys can still pick up a vibe of like some of the insane shit that I do in parties and women I'm around and this and that, and that's like 1% of my camera roll. Like yeah, I don't know, maybe one day I'll release the other 99% of the crazy shit I do and whatnot. But I said, the reason I say all of this is because, first of all, I think it's a unique experience for most of you guys, and especially for you guys who, I don't know, like, I guess I'm very open, like my customers, that especially the high, you know, the higher level ones, agree and see, and my clients, if they're ever interested in some of the more like social design stuff, and you know, the way that I structure my social life and this and that. But I think it's very interesting for you guys because you guys aren't seeing someone who's just rigid and like, you know, and to be honest, I think about this sometimes. I'm like, if I gave because I know everyone else that you guys are probably watching on YouTube, like from a business perspective, like they're, if you look at like a pie chart of their life, like 100% is like business and work. And it's like, I don't know, just being honest, in their 20s, I literally don't know anyone. I've tried to look, like I don't know anyone in their 20s in the business space, unless it's been some big sale of their company or something. But like in terms of like free cash flow, like, you know, I don't really know many sort of online business people who kind of share some of their advice as they go along their journey, who have made as much as I have this year. And that's with like 50% of my life focused on work. Like, you know, my health is very important to me. As much as I party, I do a lot of detox work and this and that. So my biohacking, my gym, all that stuff is important to me. My social life is a massive part of my life. Like the amount of high level men and women that I meet is actually obnoxious. So sometimes I do think about, I'm like, what could I have achieved career wise if I just like put all of, you know, that split focus with like these other sectors of my life, like having fun. Like, you know, that's the other thing is, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, when I first started my business, like profit was the number I respected the most. And then as I got further along my journey, I was like, no, it's not profit. It's like, how much do you still have and keep? Like, how much have you saved? And then it's like, how much do you have invested? And then only recently in the last like 4 or 5 months, I've realized like the number that I respect the most for someone is, how much money do you have in your investment portfolio earning you like true passive income, like that. But the high, like the most baller level is like, and then how much have you blown? Like how many millions have you just blown on just like, you know, going to the best restaurants, going to the best trips, like partying, like just enjoying your life. Because the other thing is like, you only have, you know, you never get your 20s, your 30s back. And I think, that really is something to mention. But this sort of big discussion is still at the end of the day about how, hedonism doesn't equate to happiness. And it really, really is true. Like the happiest I am, honestly, for like core true happiness is when I'm in Cape Town doing monk mode. Like that's genuinely from the bottom of my heart happiness. But you still need that night and day. And for example, I think if I'd done that 6 months, and then I said usually in the summer is kind of when I let my hair down. By the way, let my hair down doesn't mean, everything goes to shit. Bear in mind, I've been running my business for 5.5 years, my main business, the agency. So I've been running that business for 5.5 years. So that, and then at Great Agency, we have a great team at my software company, which isn't even open publicly yet. Great team once again. So like, because of my team, I can afford to have the months, the first 6 months a year where I'm by far the hardest working on my team. And then there's 3 months a year usually where I'm like the least hard working on my team, because I'm spending maybe like 5 hours a day working, and the rest of the time I'm fucking around and partying and, traveling and this and that. So as I said, I think if I'd had that first 6 months or 7 months of monk mode, and then I'd done my normal 3 months of just partying and fun, I think that would have kind of scratched that itch and then gone back into focus. But with the move to Dubai and everything like that, like it's only been up until, I kind of kept partying all of July, August, September, October, like 4 months, and November actually. So like 5 months of partying, and then only December that I kind of get back into work mode and the work zone and this and that. So I think going through periods of, for me, I said you can call these periods whatever you want in your life, but for me, these periods of monk mode and then sort of like hedonistic tendencies. So for me, like I said, I like to live 70% of my year in monk mode, and I just like being more extreme like that. And the other 3 months I like to be extreme and cut my hours down and just head down and focus. And as long as, I think the juxtaposition of the two works really well in my life. And as I said, this is a lesson that I already knew, but one that God served to me again this year, which is, hedonism truly doesn't equate to happiness. Lesson number 3, focus on a cash flow business and an aggressive portfolio in your 20s. If you are 20 years old, the main thing that you need to focus on is a cash flow business. For me, I've said it 101 different times. It's not very cool. It's not very sexy. It's very hands off when you find the right hand person. For example, for me, it's Danny. He's been working with me for 2018, 3.5 years, almost 4 years. Wow. So yeah, we've been working together for 3.5 years. Initially as a contractor, and then full time, and then taking on a more CMO role at my agency. So, is it a cool business, right? Like, is it as cool as having, for example, like a physical product like this? No, not at all, right? But it pays the bills. And I think that was something that I even struggled with. I'm like, I don't know, like this agency thing, like, there's more exciting stuff out there and blah, blah. And, the one thing that I'm always be grateful for is, just the consistency of the agency, the cash flow it provides me. And as I said, the agency isn't like the coolest business or whatever, but what is cool is the amount of money and the amount of free cash flow it makes you. And then you take that free cash flow, for example, in my case, towards the late end of 2020, I took a couple mil that I had saved up from the agency over the years. I took that, I invested it, and I turned it into over 8 figures after tax. Thank you, Dubai. And that is cool. And that's when you start having sort of, real athlete rapper money, right? Is when you can take the money from your cash flow business, right? So find any business where you make 500K to 2 million a year. And obviously, if you can have a business that makes more money than that, great. But in terms of, I'm talking free cash flow. I'm talking as in like profits that you can actually then go ahead and invest. There's not too many businesses out there where you can make more than 2 million a year unless you have massive infrastructure, right? I'm talking where you actually invest in the business and then like invest a lot of time, resources in the business. You have a physical office, this, that. Like remote businesses, there aren't many where you can make more than 2 or 3 million a year profit. As I said, stop listening to revenue numbers. People tell you profit, okay? Actual free cash flow that you can take and invest. So the strategy, here's the game. Here's how you win the game. You find a business where you make 500K to 1.5, 2 million a year. You save, you take 70% and you invest it. So 70% of everything you make, you invest. The other 30%, you blow and you feel zero guilt, right? You can spend that money, right? Because you're in your 20s and you deserve it. And what will happen is if you do that consistently in your 20s, By the time you're 40, you should easily have, if you take the principal, so let's say you do a blended average of, let's say for 10 years, 750K a year for 10 years, right? 7.5 million. By the time let's say you do this process from the age of 25, by the time that you're 34, or let's say even 28, so 28 to 38, by the time, so you have 7.5 million in principal, and then as I said, you also have to go aggressively your portfolio, because at that age you don't have much to lose, honestly. In your 20s and even your early 30s, you really don't have that much to lose. Okay, if you take 7.5 million, it can very easily, and I'm not even talking about like if you find something like cryptocurrency here, it can very easily turn into something like 15, 20, 30, 40, even 50 million just from 7.5 million in principal if you find the right investment opportunities. And it is about finding the right investment opportunities. I'm sick and tired of hearing all these idiot entrepreneurs talking about invest in your business, shut up. What are you talking about? You get to a point in your business where you make so much money where what are you going to do with that extra money? You're going to reinvest in your business just to make more money. And you get to a point where you can't really reinvest in your business because you'll spend money and then you get diminishing returns, right? And you especially think about that from an advertising perspective. I know basically my entire life has been based on advertising. That's what I do for a living, right? That's what I do for a living. That's what our agency does for our clients. And then we show other agency owners how to do that. Trust me. And then for both businesses, we even advertise to do that. So look, name of the game, find a business that provides you free cash flow. And then the most important thing is you take that free cash flow and you multiply it many, many times over with investments. Okay. That is the name of the game. And I am stupid and knock myself, okay, for the fact that I only started doing that really properly a year ago, just over a year ago, right? Whatever, let's say 14, 15 months ago, something like that. Granted, before that, I was investing. I've always been big into watches, and, people wonder why the hell I've spent probably close to, I don't know, maybe like $1.2 million at this point on watches. Because my watch portfolio is worth like 2 million or 2.2 or something like that. Like I double my money with watches, with a tangible item. That's a genuine hobby of mine. Like I actually love watches. I love horology. So my biggest regret and my biggest mistake is actually listening to a lot of people who are like, no, stockpile cash, reinvest in the business. But as I said, in certain businesses, you get to a point where what else are you going to reinvest in? Right? And you need to understand what purpose that business serves in your life. For me, these are cash flow businesses to then take that free cash flow and invest it. I have other businesses, for example, my software company. The goal of that business is not profit, right? The goal of that business is to build it to as big a valuation as humanly possible, right? So you need to understand, where different businesses slot into different aspects of your life. So that really is lesson number 3 is if you're in your 20s, build a cash flow business, which I had done. I was very successful at that. I built a couple of those. And most importantly, invest it in investment portfolio that is a little higher risk than normal. And especially in this current environment, you have to be stupid not to be investing money right now, right? The people who are getting right now, really, really are the savers, okay? The ones who are saving money right now are really the ones who are in trouble. Because the reason that literally any Rolex, the stuff that was literally, you could get discounts for, and I remember I was even getting discounts for some of these 2 years ago. The reason that you're getting, literally any of these watches, you walk out of the store and they're worth more than retail, is because everyone is trying to find a place to park their cash because no one wants cash right now, okay? So that is really lesson number 3. Life lesson number 4 from 2020 is, for me personally, I feel unfulfilled when I'm not close to God. So I know that some of you guys may be rolling your eyes right now, and anytime religion comes up, and by the way, like, let me make this clear. I'm not religious, right? Like, I'm not religious, but I believe in God. To me, the two are very, very different. And God can take many forms for you. For me, when I think of God, I don't think of a specific person. I'm not talking to a person. But from a very, very early age, I built up a relationship with God. And I guess for me, having probably one of the most traumatic, sinister, f***ed up, demonic upbringings that I could ever imagine, 99% of which I don't even talk about to close friends, I guess I had no choice, because it was just a feeling of like have so little control in my life that you just surrender to something bigger. So I spent most of my early life up until probably the age of like 15 or 16, where I started quite clearly to become a bit of a smartass and think that the byproduct of my life, which of course, yes, the byproduct of your life is a lot of your own action, but a lot of it is God's grace. And by the way, when I say God, if you just want to swap that out for the universe, right, we can just call it that if you want. I said, for me, when I think of God, I don't actually think of a specific person. So I guess you could even say just whatever, a collective consciousness or a higher power, whatever you want, whatever makes you feel comfortable. The point is, I had a very good relationship with God up until probably the age of like 14 or 15, when I started reading a book a week. I read a book a week for 4 years as I was building my business. When I started really, going out there and, tangibly, making moves and, doing things and actions and, thinking that everything that was in my life was simply a byproduct of my own personal actions, which, as I said, you need to adopt that mentality, especially at the beginning. But at the end of the day, let's be honest, most of it is luck or grace or whatever you want to call it. For me, as I said, I think it's a lot of it is God's grace, and especially in recent years, a lot of the time I kind of just have no relationship with God. I don't pray. The first half of the year, I was praying pretty much most days. Had a great relationship with God, and just when that happens, I feel very centered. I feel very calm. And I feel the most fulfilled I ever feel. So I guess, as I said, for me, it was a good life lesson. I think from from 2017 up until mid 2020, and if you guys watched last year's life lessons, I went through a very turbulent mid summer of 2020, where I was very, very heavily depressed, suicidal, like very, very strongly considering it. And that's, once again, I guess it was just that feeling of surrender, like, I have no choice but to surrender and admit that there's something that I can't help myself right now. Because, by the way, for me, it was not like, for me, it wasn't like those people who are depressed and they're like, they're severely, severely overweight. And if you don't want to tell me that doesn't contribute to depression, then, and you should just love yourself, then probably this isn't the channel for you. So, I wasn't one of those people who was, at that time, I wasn't even, I literally just came from 6 months of like not even having a sip of alcohol. So I wasn't even drinking or drugs or, I was severely overweight, or I was like, I had no prospect of or a bright future. Like I had everything anyone could ever want for, and it still was, I went through, what some people call a dark night of the soul experience. So as I said, for me last summer, I kind of just had to submit and go, I can't help myself here, right? And that's kind of when I started to every single day slowly start to rebuild a relationship with God. And, I carried that through for almost like a solid year, and it was so great. Like it was so fulfilling. And then just somewhere around this summer, it just kind of went away, because, as I said, I was just starting to party more and enjoy myself more and this and that. And with that can come, first of all, you're just not living as healthy, so it's hard to like sort of, your I guess for some people, they can call them chakras. For some people, it's just literally brain fog, whatever you want to call it, right? You're just like, you're not centered, right? And when you're not centered, it's really hard to kind of have that relationship with a higher power. So yeah, I kind of realized, like, for me, I'm very just unfulfilled when I don't have a relationship with God. And I think there's a way, and I look forward to a future where if I am going through one of those periods, because I'm sure it'll happen in the future again, where I'm enjoying myself, I'm being a little bit more hedonistic, there's a little bit more debauchery going on in my life. Can I have that, and can I still keep a very good relationship to God and still feel very centered? And I know that's possible, and I think that's just something I need to focus on next time I go, next time round, where I said I'm just living a little bit more hedonistic than the other 70% of the year. So yeah, that's I guess life lesson number 4 is for me, I said I feel very off-centered and very unfulfilled when I don't have a relationship with God. As I said, in your case, you can refer to it as a higher power, or the universe, or whatever it is that you want. Life lesson number 5 from 2021 is you only have so much bandwidth. And this is referring to business, people, hobbies, activities, whatever it is that you want. Imagine what you can accomplish, and damn, I think it was Bill Gates that said this quote, and it actually makes me want to throw up in my mouth having to quote Bill Gates. But it is true, Most people do overestimate what they can accomplish in a year and underestimate what they can accomplish in 10. And you need to understand that whatever your aspirations and goals are for 2022, the actual goals I'm sure you can accomplish, but you'll probably be able to, like, actually things that you're able to do, probably accomplish a lot less than you thought, right? And you're probably, the main key here is you're probably gonna have way less bandwidth than you actually imagine. And that's something that I've started to realize as I am now at a point where I have 4 companies. I have an investment portfolio that I need to manage, and have grown very successfully. And every once in a while it doesn't take over my life too much, but I still do need to keep track, and I make a couple of strategic moves and trades and things with my investment portfolio that have worked out very, very well. So between all that, and then also especially recently in the last sort of second half of the year, having to manage once again a very active social life and this and that, I just realized I just have way less bandwidth than I would have wanted. And going into 2022, I just think both from a business perspective, I'm going to be taking on way less, even though I've been so good at saying no to everything so far. And the things that I've said yes to, the business and opportunities I've said yes to, it makes sense that I did it. And like they were just so blatant. They were just really just opportunities that just made so much sense that I couldn't pass them up, but it's still a lot on my plate. So going into 2022, I guess it's just for me, just being a little bit more honest that like I really can't do everything to 100% if I bite off more, right? And the thing is, for me, I know that with people, with customers, clients, whatever it is, they know that whatever I do, it will be A1, whether it is at the education company, whether, it's blue light blockers, whether it's simple pocket tea that you think, can't be, a simple gray pocket tea that you put on and you're like, how could this make me feel special? And how can this make me feel like, like I'm wearing something that's truly world class? Everything from that to the way that we operate at the agency, I want to be a 10 out of 10. And I can't be if I take on any more stuff. And I think that's been definitely a realization, or I can't unless I restructure. And that's a big thing that I've been focusing on this year, is really how do I put in better management? Because the thing is, right now, I'm definitely not a solopreneur. I have a big team between the businesses, but at the end of the day, I am still the roadblock to everything that goes on. And now, really starting to come to the realization that I really do. I always give this advice, work on the business, not in the business. And I've always applied that, like 90%, 95% of the minutia that goes on in the business, like the actual stuff that needs to happen in order for us to actually serve our customers, clients, et cetera, I'm not involved with, right? But where I have been stuck with, and this is, you always face new challenges and problems as the business grows, is management, right? The actual management and running of the business, because at the end of the day, like there are still roads that lead back to me. And until I address that problem or give it a green light or this or that, or give the big strategic decision, I am the roadblock. And when you have 4 different companies, right? And there's like strategic decisions, and sometimes there'll be multiple strategic decisions at one, and you're the roadblock, then that can cause a real serious roadblock. So, now restructuring and realizing that like I have to, and I've realized this especially at the education company, because it's really the one that's the most like complicated. I have to put in a good management team and just trust them that they'll do it. And they can make the strategic decisions for me, and they can sort of run the ship. So yeah, that was sort of a big life lesson in terms of work. And another big lesson when it comes to you only have so much bandwidth, and that life lesson and that aspect of it is just in terms of like friends and stuff like that. Friends, and I said I have such a big network, and I am still so good at just saying no, and just saying no to like meeting people, and I'm not really a big networker. To become my friend is almost literally impossible. It's very, very difficult to become my friend or get access to me in any meaningful way, outside of like, to really get true access to me. And nonetheless, it's still too much, right? Like this, you only have so much bandwidth. And for me, it's like, am I gonna, and which I've kind of been entertaining more in the last 6 months, am I gonna give my bandwidth to this person or this, or am I gonna give my bandwidth to my close friends, to my team? That's a big thing. Like, I feel as though, as I said, I got really stretched the second half of the year where I couldn't give as much time and attention and focus to my team. And I realized now in 2022, I have just submitted to the fact that I won't be able to do that, which is why the focus is on the management and the team and everything that comes with that. So yeah, that's another thing to mention. So the sixth life lesson that I learned in 2021, it's more really a question to pose to yourself, is what are you trying to prove? And it's actually something that I have up on my mirror, one of my daily questions to ponder over. Yeah, for me, I think at this stage as well, it's a very important question to continue to ask myself, am I doing as much as I feel like I have full autonomy in my life? And people know I don't really, for the most part, I don't really do things for others, or at least outward seeming or outward facing. Like I don't really give a about anyone's opinion, or at least I say I don't. But then again, you gotta always question your beliefs and question what you think your motives are. But I will talk about very sensitive topics. I'm not, I'm very comfortable losing customers, clients, friends for being the totally opposite of politically correct. I'm very not politically correct because there's just so much stuff on this earth, and everyone's just so scared to like lose business and money. As I said, for me, I'm not at the place where I want to be financially, but even at 10 million, I mean, if I lost all my customers and clients, but in return I kept my dignity and I kept my ability to say what I want about topics, then I'll take that all day. Cool. I think I can live off 750k to $1 million a year for the rest of my life. I think I'll be fine. So anyways, I always have to ask myself this question of what are you trying to prove? And I kind of look at it from a few different areas of my life. And kind of one of the ways that I looked at it is, for example, when it comes to the gym, I am at the moment, I'm 6 foot, 183 centimeters. Although if you ever ask me my height in the comment section, someone on my team, it's like a running joke now, people on my team, obviously there's like a few people who have access to my comments. So before I can ever comment, which I try my best to do between whatever, let's say if I'm in an Uber or something like that, I always try my best to respond to comments in the comment section. But before I can get to it, someone on my team will put like, that I'm like 5'8" or something like that. So I'm 183 centimeters, which just barely scrapes 6 foot club, which I'm very lucky considering my mom is literally a midget. I think she's like 5'2" or something like that. Yeah, 5'2" or something like that. I don't know, 5'2", 5'3". And then apparently my biological father is like 5'8" or something. So I don't know how I ended up like this, but anyways, my point is, I'm 6 foot right now, 89 kilos, and all year round, I'm sub 10%. I can be anywhere from like 8.5 all the way to like just under 10, like 9.8 or something like that. But the reason I say all this is because I run multiple full-time businesses and I have a very, 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 very good physique, but I never look at that, or like I never like go to the gym and I'm like, oh, I need to get like to this place, because then once I get there, like then I'll be happy. Or like for me, when I go to the gym, like I really don't care ever. Like, I know like a lot of guys, like they'll take off their shirt and they're like, oh, like the girls are looking at my like six pack, and like for me, like I literally, it's to the point where I don't even acknowledge that I have what people would consider like a good physique, like at all. Like I'm just like, yeah, like I've just got I've got a body, like, like it's just, and it's very, I guess the reason I say this is because it's very interesting to look at the way that I look at that compared to like the way that I look at business. And sometimes I think in business, I still feel like I have something to prove. And I don't know if, that's not a very healthy place to come from, feeling like you still have something to prove. And I'm like, yeah, cool, whatever. At 21, maybe I have 10 million after tax, in my investment portfolio. But, if I had 25 or if I had 50, and you could all play this game, right? And I think as long as, and I guess I even look at like, for example, at the education company, I spent so much money, time, and effort on this custom platform, and I don't regret any of it. But also a large part of it was like, I feel as though it was just like, if it was coming from a place of like, you feeling like I needed something to prove, right? And I look at that, for example, kind of like the agency. Like I look at the agency kind of like when it comes to like health and gym and physique and stuff like that, I'm just like, yeah, I just want to grow the agency. Like, of course, like I've been doing this for 5 years and I just want to grow it, and I just want to have great clients and that, like, I kind of take that same approach of like that I still have with the gym. I'm just like, yeah, I just want to go to the gym and I just want to do it just because I enjoy it, like I like it. Whereas like I look at for example, like the education company, kind of like a little bit more like money, like, oh no, like I need to, I still feeling like I had something to prove. And I think at the end of the day, that's always crippling. Like the best thing you can do is when you just genuinely love something and you just do it because you're just like, why would I not improve, right? And as I said, even, with a custom platform, I felt like, I never wanted to be like put in the same category as like some other like online educators. They're, let's just be honest, like are genuinely in it for just a quick buck. Like they don't give a shit about their customers. They don't give a shit about like building something that's like different and you can be proud of. So, you know, I said I don't regret the custom platform and all the time and effort that went into it at all. But I wonder how much better could I have actually made it if it wasn't coming from this place of like, like I'll show the industry, like I'm gonna do something different, like I'm gonna I'm gonna really like claim Gradency's stake as like the premier. And it was more just like, oh, like I just want to do this because like the customers are gonna love it. And I wonder, you know, it's really just like these two. It might seem like the same outcome, but it's not, like, because you come from it from two different places, and when you come from it from two different places, you just think very differently, right? And just understand you know, and I still have so much work to do when it comes to ego and pride and this and that, even though like I say all this stuff, but I'm so like, I'm my number one critic, and I'm like the first person to look at myself and go, what areas of your life and what areas of your personality do you really need to work on, and what areas of your personality do you really need to I guess just work on. And just like, I'm the first one to kind of put a mirror up to my character and go, that's probably not aligned with who you want to be. You should probably do something about that. So, you know, although I am a person who's on a perpetual pursuit to be the man that I know I can be, I'm still plagued with ego and pride and this and that. And that's crippling, right? And I said, anytime that you do something, and by the way, it can be very good. And I think this is like the difficult thing. You're listening to these reflections, and these reflections are, if this is 4 years ago, my journey, these would be very different reflections. And I would probably disagree with a lot of these life lessons and be like, that's not important. Or like, no, you actually did things the right way. And as I said, it's just every couple years, maybe even every year, you have to approach things very differently, right? And where I am right now, I can't approach it from the same way that I approached it 4 years ago, right? Where it was like, I got something to prove. Like, you know, I already had a very successful business when I dropped out of high school, but you know, everyone thought I was crazy. The terrible people said about not only me, but like my mother and her mothering abilities. Mothering, I don't think that made sense. But yeah, I don't know, mother. I don't know how else to put it. But anyways, her abilities as a mother was just horrible. Like the stuff that like I wouldn't call them my friends, like the kids in my school, like their parents would say, and I don't know, this might come off as a douchey comment, but whatever, it. Like, these are the same parents who now their 21-year-old kids still live with them, and next year I'm gonna buy my mom a house. And by the way, I would have done it a long time ago, except the issue is, you know, for me, it's when I want to buy my mom a house, it's not a $500,000 house. It's a $4 million house in central London. You know, that would be her dream home, right? So, I digress. My point is, right? You know, these are the same parents who, you know, are still having to take care of their children, and my mom's fully retired. And wherever I go in the world, you know, my mom lives in the same building. I got her apartment here for 6 months. She lives in the same building. Wherever she goes, wherever I am in the world, wherever I move to, I always make sure she has a place 5 minutes away, and she always has a key to my place. And she comes in every single day, and you know, I see my mother every single day, which I fucking love. So, anyways, as I said, I went on a little bit of a side tangent here, but it was all really just to say that, you know, if you're watching this, you know, when I dropped out of school, and I guess even before I had my other motivations and reasons to start my business, and I said a very, very fucked up, traumatic, and I guess there's a big thing between responsibility and then just trauma and whatever. There's a difference between like, there's kids who grow up with, and they're like, they have to be the man of the house or woman of the house, or whatever it may be, but man of the house, and that's a responsibility thing. And then there's other ones where it's just like severe trauma, because you can have a kid that comes from like the wealthiest family but have the most sinister, fucked up childhood ever, and then you could have someone who has like loving parents and this and that, but they still, for whatever reason, have to be like the breadwinner. I was just so lucky that I had both. As I said, you know, for me, I had my reasons and this and that, and you know, maybe when I first started my business, this whole idea in it of like, you know, feeling like I had something to prove to myself and prove to the world, maybe that would have served me. But as I said, now where I am at my stage, it doesn't. And I need to let go of it. And any time that I do something with this sense of like needing to prove something to other people, that's when I probably should, take a pause, take a deep breath, and realize the outcome of this won't be as good as if you come from it from a wholeheartedly. And by the way, everything I do is for the most part because I actually want to do it. Like I actually just want to make more money, because why would you know? It's like, it's a fun, for me, I like building, and business is a game of building, and like the way you get rewarded is money, right? And that's the way that you kind of keep track of the value you provide in the world of business. And that's really my motivation for like 80% of it. But there's still that 20% of like, I still have that next thing to prove, and that next thing to prove, and that next benchmark. And I just don't know how much that really serves me anymore. So I guess that's something I just reflected on this year. So the 7th and final life lesson from 2021 is that the next 10 years will be very turbulent. And I truly, from the bottom of my heart, believe this. And I am strapped up and ready to go, and I'm mentally prepared for that. The next 10 years will be bad. And I hate to be pessimistic, and also bear in mind these rules, a lot of these rules and a lot of the things that are coming, and you can even see in the past 2 years, the things that have happened, they don't apply to you if you have money. And I hate to say it. And, I think sometimes people get like, I've even, with all the like sort of restriction stuff and everything that's gone on the past 2 years, I've had people be like, you speak from a very privileged place. And it's like, no, you. Like I genuinely from the bottom of my heart don't know a single person on earth. Well, I guess personally know a single person on earth who had a more difficult childhood. As I said, both from the perspective of having to take care of their single mother, and second, the unspeakable things that I went through growing up. So yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that when I was 14, I started my business, and then when I was 16, I was getting 3-4 hours of sleep, 2 hours of sleep, falling asleep when I went to school, building my business for me and my mom. At the time I was 17, I had employees dropped out of school, and basically 2017, 2018, 2019, all I did up until the summer of 2019, all I did was work, to the point where like I even had like best friends be like, dude, I haven't seen you in 4 months and you live 5 minutes away from me. I'm like, yeah, I'm building. So yeah, when I say this stuff, like, just, I don't know, I guess for the people who have been here for years and years and literally have seen me sign my first real like big proper client and move into my first ever apartment and do all the stuff that I've done, and see this entire journey. I know for you guys it doesn't trigger you, but maybe some of the new people, when I say these rules don't apply to the rich, which whatever, I'm barely in that camp. Like I'm talking like the ultra wealthy, which I'm still I'm still not in that club, I would say. Bear in mind, you're not hearing this from like some rich trust fund kid, right? Like I'm one of you, right? Like I'm one of you. Me and my mom, we fall into the exact same camp as you. So I said the next 10 years will continue to be bad unless you know how to play the game. So last 2 years have been, for the most part, I said there's been some turbulence here and there, the best 2 years of my life, right? And I have made insane illegal amounts of money the past 2 years while all this stuff is going on, right? And I've traveled wherever I want, and I've done whatever I want, and I have had literally no repercussions, right? And I've been smart enough to see everything that's going on in Europe. And what did? I moved to Dubai, and we'll see whether that's the right option or not. But at the moment, there's no lockdowns in Dubai, there's no passes, there's no this or that, etc., etc. And even if there were, I have no issue, because once again, just without going into too much detail, just understand, when you have money, rules don't apply to you, full stop. Okay, so what you need to do is make some fucking money. And I hate to put it any other way, and I trust me, I truly from the bottom of my heart respect the spiritual journey you're going on and this and that. But like, and now at my sort of financial standing, like I can kind of look and I can, I can sort of nurture my spiritual journey and this and that, and kind of, I can focus on that a little more. But if I was just starting off right now, I would be like, all right, that, I'm going to suck all my emotions in, and I'm going to focus 100% on making money, because right now you got to make money. First of all, it's never been easier to make money, because the economy is just like, it's a joke how easy it is to, first of all, make money from your business, and then second, invest in and multiply it many times over once you have a decent sum of money, because of the way the economy is right now, or at least, as I said, in our industry, right? If you go to the rest of the economy, they're hurting bad, but in our world, the online world, it's very, very easy. And the way the things are going to go in the next 10 years, right? You think this thing's going to stop like in a month, 2 months? There are going to be more and more and more lockdowns, and there's going to be another, there's going to be, once all this stuff is over, there's going to be lockdowns for another reason, which, as I said, I won't get too much into here, but there's going to be another reason that they're going to lock you down and going to say you have to stay inside, you know, to protect everyone else for this other reason. As I said, I mean, I would talk about that in some other video. And there's going to be more tyranny. And you need to have, what have I been saying to you guys for the longest time? What have I been trying to drill into you? You need a business or a career, right? By the way, because the same things I'm telling you right here apply to my team, because my team make incredible money. They all have location freedom. They can work from wherever they want in the world, and time freedom, right? I don't tell my team ever, you have to be at your desk at this time and this, blah, blah, blah. Like, they do the work. And if they want to sleep in that day and work later, I don't care. You know, we have certain team meetings, but I'm the boss, I'm the business owner, but I still have to be those meetings, right? So as I said, this doesn't only apply to like being a business owner. Like, even if you can join an organization and still get these same benefits, but the 3 things you need in your life: financial freedom, location freedom, and time freedom. Okay, you need those things, and you need those things ASAP. And by the way, having financial freedom and not having location freedom, you're still okay? Look at what's some of the tyrannical up stuff that these countries are pulling on their citizens. All right, imagine being Australian right now. Imagine living in Australia and you got financial freedom, but you can't leave your own country. I don't know too much about the history of Australia, but from what I understand, Australia used to be where all the British, basically the British colony, went and shipped off all their prisoners. And what happened? Hundreds of years later, Australia is a prison. You guys live in a big massive prison because you guys have I'm sorry to say it, but you got weak men. All right, you got weak men that will not protect your women, will not protect your kids, and you have your men to blame for the position you're in. Okay, and at least if you're in, I don't know what's another up country right now. At least if you're in France or you're in Holland or something, at least you can go over the border. At least get in your car and you can drive and you can leave. Australia, you can't even leave. If that doesn't prove to you, and by the way, this is the stuff that I was talking about 18 months ago. And what do people call me? They call me a crazy conspiracy theorist. Okay, cool. There you go. All right, I have nothing to gain. So as I said, I think the next 10 years are going to be really bad before they get really, really good. I think the 2030s, that period on, I think we're going the most profound, blissful era that we've been in for a long, long time. I think the next 10 years, they're going to push until it reaches breaking point. But you need to be able to have, as I said, those 3 things in your life: location freedom, time freedom, and financial freedom. And when you have those things, and actually time freedom, of course, I just think is important in general, but especially financial freedom and location freedom, you need those 2 things. All right, financial freedom and location freedom. So as I said, whether that is joining an organization that can give that to you, or whether that is starting your own business, I don't really care how you do it, but just do it. Okay, because, you know, there definitely was a point in this year where I was like, you know, I think the tyrannical stuff is over, and I knew that it would creep up again, you know, maybe in 3 years or something like that, but I thought they would give us a little bit of respite. Not happening. This stuff's just going to keep going. So you need to be able to navigate. We're in very, very stormy seas at the moment, so you need to be able to navigate it. So that is the 7th life lesson that I learned. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed. I think this is probably blabbered on about a lot of stuff, and went on many tangents. And yeah, this video definitely isn't going to rank well in the algorithm or anything like that, but I thought it'd be something, interesting to give you guys before the start of the new year. So on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for sticking until this point. I know that if you've got in here, then you are hungry for more knowledge and more content. So I went ahead and specifically picked out an incredible video for you to watch next that I know you're going to love. Check it out right there.